and welcome to Port Blandford. And this is the bearded beekeeper, Mr. Ian, for your last name was Hussey already, Ian Hussey, and we're here, and he's going to show you and talk about the bees and their benefits of the honey and everything that they produce. And I'll let him take over from here. Thank you very much, by the way, for taking your time and sharing your colonies with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming and showing interest. So, yeah, this is my apiary so far. We have a couple colonies elsewhere right now, and we're up to 8 so far. Hoping to get up to 24 before winter comes. So fingers crossed on that. So today we're just looking at our colonies here. The bees are really busy. Just the other day we had a population explosion. So this colony is really, really robust. As you can see, they're just bringing in the pollen and just by the loads. So pollen is really good. Sometimes we harvest the pollen, we use it for just selling. You can eat the pollen just the way it is, and it's great for fighting allergies and stuff, especially allergies to like hay fever that's related to the plants and flowers and pollen. And so they also produce propolis. Propolis is what we call as bee glue. They use it to fortify the hive. So if there's any cracks here that they don't want air to get in through, they'll propolize it over, and that closes it off. And it's really, really sticky, and it's hard to break the seal. Like, every time I break into the colony, I have to use a hive tool. I have to pry in on the corner here, and it sticks so tight. Like, I won't even be able to open that now with my fingers, and I'm pulling on that pretty hard. And propolis is also great. Antibacterial properties, antifungal. People call it the wonder drug. I mean, it's great. It helps the body fight off all kinds of nasty stuff. It's just so good. I could go on forever talking about propolis and how great it is for the body and the system. And then we can talk about the honey as well. The honey is great. The honey is also great for sweetener. I use it in my tea and coffee. We don't use white sugar anymore. So we substitute everything that would be used for white sugar. We substitute with honey now. So baking breads, instead of using sugar, we use honey. Same thing with anything that will call for sugar. We found out a way to substitute it for the sugar, and it's great. And you can feel how much better your system is after cutting out white sugar. Yeah. And going into the honey and for substitute, it's just so much better.
So how does your coffee taste with the honey instead of your sugar?
It depends. I love it a lot better because it's got that sweetness, but it lingers, and it mixes well with the coffee depending on what type of coffees you're using. Yeah. And I just think they balance out really well. I more so like it in my tea. I find it goes really great with tea. It's just perfect, and you don't need to use as much. I find just a little bit of honey instead of using 2 big scoops of white sugar. You just use a little bit of honey, and it just makes it all that much better for you.
Yeah, a lot healthier.
Yeah, oh, very much so. Yeah.
So you're going to take the cover off and show us some
so we can
bee propolis.
Pop the cover off here. This colony is a pretty heavy propolis colony, we'll call it. They like to use propolis on a lot of stuff. As you can see here in these vent holes, there's a ring here, a brown ring around here, but it's open here, so that brown ring is the propolis. The bees, I guess, they did not want that much airflow that I had created for them, so they closed it off with propolis, and you can pick that out as much as you want. It's almost like concrete, pretty much. It's like the bee super glue.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and as you can see here, the bees are just
Working.
Yeah, this colony is probably about somewhere around 50,000 bees,
Wow.
and they're just so busy.
That's pretty amazing.
And they're pretty docile too. I mean, you can see we're here with nothing, you know, no protection or anything, and the reason for that is because we're not disturbing the inside of the hive.
Yeah.
If we were to take this top off, it would be a different story.
Yes.
But they're just so busy doing what bees are doing, out getting pollen and nectar, and 'cause they only live for about 42 days, right?
Yeah.
And so they're so busy doing what they have to do, they're not bothered with us here because they only have so much time to do what they have to do, right?
Yeah.
And
So I'm just going to take a second to show what the bee propolis looks like that we have. So you can see it's pretty much the same color. And Ian, do you want to try this? You want to try one of these and see how it tastes? Here, I'll let you grab one. You can take one out there. I want to put my fingers on it with the corona, you know, stuff around.
I've always tried the propolis from the hive. Every now and again, I'll pick a piece off
Okay.
and chew on it.
Mhm.
But I'm curious to see what this tastes like. Oh yeah.
Is it similar?
Yep.
Yeah.
Similar in taste, but also similar in texture,
Okay.
because it's got that like chewy.
Mhm. It's chewy, but a little bit of a tang there.
Yep. And that's the same way like propolis is. This hive is all suited up and take the top off. There's hunks and chunks of propolis on the edges.
Oh, really?
They glue everything into place. This hive is just crazy for propolis. Now I have other hives that don't produce much propolis at all.
Okay.
And what I have to do is the genetics of the queen.
Okay.
And so she's a big propolis creator, so her offspring are also.
So did you know that if anything gets into the hive, like a rodent or mosquito or anything, they'll wrap that in the propolis to keep the germs from spreading through their hive?
Absolutely, yeah. So what they do is, if say a shrew got in there, and what they'll do is they'll kill it, but it's too big, they won't be able to bring it out. So what they'll do is pretty much mummify it with propolis.
Yep.
Now, I haven't seen that yet, and but I've heard stories of it. Yeah, and that's what they do. It's an antiseptic and antibacterial barrier between the nasty stuff from the dead shrew
Yep.
and them. So it might be something dirty in the hive, but the hive is still clean.
Yes.
Right?
And what I've been learning since I started with the Forever Living business,
Yep.
that a bee's hive is cleaner and more sanitized than a hospital operating room.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Honeybees will not defecate inside the hive.
No.
No, even all winter long, they'll hold it.
Wow.
Yep. And so they'll hold it all long enough until there's a day where it gets warm enough for them to come out for what they call a cleansing flight.
Mhm.
The cleansing flight is they're using the washroom.
Okay.
They'll come out and they'll poop, and you'll see in the front of the hive here. You see this stuff here. It's bee poop.
So there you see it, folks. Bee poop.
So sometimes you'll see it on the front of the hive, but if you see a lot of it, that means you got trouble inside.
Okay.
But there's only like 1 or 2 specks, so they're fine. But yeah, that's what bee poop looks like. And so they come out for a cleansing flight, and they use the washroom, and they come back in. They won't defecate inside. The queen doesn't leave at all, so the worker bees and nurse bees that take care of her, they carry her feces and stuff out for her.
That's pretty interesting.
Yep. So they always groom her and keep her clean at all times.
Okay,
Yep.
nice. Cool. So Ian, with the Newfoundland weather, what kind of obstacles and challenges do you face to keep your bees?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Right here, as you can see, we're pretty open. I just put this fence in not long ago, but that's the northerly winds. So this year I put in, you can see the hay bales that are there in the corners.
Yeah.
I put a wall of hay bales here. They were 4 hay bales high,
Yeah, I saw some pictures of them during the
And
winter.
I had it all along here. It was the wind barrier.
Okay.
And I only lost 2 weak colonies that I had.
Okay.
I expected to lose them, but I didn't lose any of the production colonies. The year before that, I lost 50% of my colonies, but I didn't have the wind barrier.
Okay.
So this year with the wind barrier, took care of that situation.
That's good.
Winters can be difficult. The cold is not the problem, it's the moisture level.
Okay.
In the winter, it's not cold that kills the bees, it's it's moisture. So if they're not ventilated properly, they can't get the airflow, condensation builds up, and then the water drips on the bees. If the wet bees in the winter are dead bees.
Yes.
They don't have enough energy to warm themselves up
Yeah.
and dry themselves out, so they die.
Because bees do hibernate.
Well, no.
Somewhat.
They go into a ball in a cluster.
Okay.
They cluster around the queen, and so they vibrate their wing muscles to create heat, to keep the temperature inside of the ball of bees at 90 degrees Fahrenheit at all times for the queen.
Wow.
And so the bees on the inside of the cluster are working their way outside, and the bees on the outside are working their way inside. And so that when that happens, it keeps regulating the temperature. So the cluster is always moving, very, very slowly, but it's always moving. And they don't hibernate. They just it's like they slow everything down. They don't use any extra energy than what they have to. And then so the bees on the outside will feed on the honey frames, and then they'll bring the honey into the queen during the winter. And the cluster always moves during the winter, and they'll move from the bottom box, and then once the bottom box is consumed, they'll move up to the top box.
Okay. That's pretty interesting.
Yep.
Wow.
And so with the weather, I mean, if we have a lot of snow, it's good. Like this winter, we had a lot of snow. They were completely buried. You couldn't see the hives here at all. And that was great because it adds an extra layer of insulation.
Yes.
And so the bees are not using all their energy. So if they're not using energy, they're not consuming the food. So it's a win-win when we have a lot of snow. If we have a lot of rain, that's when it can get tricky. Because we had a lot of snow and it was buried. And then when the spring started to get closer, we had in the forecast there was a day of a lot of rain.
Yes.
So I had to come out and dig them out.
Oh my God.
If I didn't dig them out, then they probably would have
Flooded.
and drowned and died.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just always keeping an eye on the weather and keeping an eye on your bees. Your bees will talk to you and tell you what you need.
Oh, I'm in shadow. Sorry. Can you see them with the pollen?
Yeah, so you can see here, you see the little yellow balls on their legs. That's their pollen baskets. They have baskets on their back, on their hind legs.
Oh my God.
And that's where they pack the pollen in. So they rub it, they get it with their front legs, and then they rub it off on their back legs like this. And then it collects in the baskets.
Okay.
And then they get it and collect it. And once they're filled up, and then they come back and bring it back to the hive, and then they drop it into a cell, and then off for another round of pollen.
So have you ever tasted the bee pollen?
Yeah, it's chalky.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and I mean the different pollens are got a little bit different to them, but it's all a bit chalky. But I mean, it's what it does for you is great. So I mean, it takes care of the like I used to have hay fever, and now I don't really get it anymore.
Oh wow.
Since taking the pollen and stuff, right?
And you get it fresh from the hive.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So I'm gonna let you try this one now. This is our bee pollen.
Oh, cool.
I actually have one full bottle for you in your
looks
present.
It just looks like balls of pollen compressed, eh? It's a little more palatable than the straight from the hive.
That's probably from a different location too, because ours are from the mountains.
Gotcha. It's got a sweet taste to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar to what comes out of the hive actually. Oh, that was great.
Actually, was that the pollen? Okay.
It was, yeah.
It was, yeah. Okay. And I want you to try one more thing. The royal jelly.
Oh, cool.
What do you know about royal jelly?
Okay, so royal jelly it's a feed. So they make it from the nectar and the pollen, and it gets fed. All the eggs and larvae get fed royal jelly for the first 4 days of the stage, and after 4 days they get taken off royal jelly. It's like a superfood. So after 4 days they get taken off royal jelly, and then they get put on bee bread, and that's another type of food that's made from the pollen. And royal jelly is also what makes the queen. So if the colony was queenless, they would go around and search for a 4-day-old egg, because after 4 days they get taken off royal jelly. So it has to be a 4-day-old egg, and they'll search out 4, 5, 6 of them, and they'll continue to feed them the royal jelly for the 16 days of their stage. And that's what actually creates the queen, is the royal jelly. It's like it has everything in it that you would want to be eaten, right? So yeah. I'm interested. I've never ever had royal jelly.
Royal jelly is also good for a lot of things as well. Even women that's going through menopause is good for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
Yeah.
See, we're still learning.
Well, we learn something new every day.
We learn exactly, right?
How does that taste?
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of properties in it. And one more thing that we're going to talk about is the bee honey. Now, Ian's bee honey is a lot lighter than this one, but this is the one we have from Forever Living. And again, our bees come from the mountains, whereas Ian's bees come from here in Port Blandford. And talk a little bit about the benefits of honey, if you want.
Yeah, so honey is great. I find it has that kick of energy to give you, that sugar would give you, but it doesn't have the downfalls of the crash or the feel icky. You know, when you eat a lot of sugar or you eat too much sugar and gives you stomach aches and stuff like that. Honey doesn't do that, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's like I say, for us it cut out white sugar. So that was huge for us. I mean, to be able to cut out white sugar and be able to substitute it for honey, and it's just the bees. Everything that the bees make goes into the honey. So I'll tell you a little bit about the process. So the bee goes out to the flower, collects the nectar, and comes back to the hive. A bee has 2 stomachs. It has a stomach that takes its food, and then it has a honey stomach. So it fills up the honey in its honey stomach, and when it's in there, it takes on microbes from their stomach, gets added to it, and so when they get back to the hive, they regurgitate it, and it goes to another bee, and that bee takes it into their honey stomach and adds more enzymes and stuff to it. Wow. And this process goes maybe a dozen bees, and when it gets to the last bee, they regurgitate it into the cell. Wow. So all the good stuff, like the enzymes and stuff in the bee's honey, gets added to it from each bee, and it takes on all those properties, and it gets all mixed together. And it also goes into the cell, which is made of wax, which the bees make themselves, and that also adds like antibacterial properties to it and stuff like that. And it's just an overall great product to be consuming on a daily basis. I mean, I at least have 1 teaspoon just like raw honey. Yeah. Every morning. Yeah. Yeah.
We've been eating a lot of honey too lately.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just something that you have to do because you feel your body reacting to it. Yes. Your body's changing. It's like, oh my God, what's this great stuff? now that I'm getting that I wasn't getting, and now I'm not getting the garbage anymore. It's just like
yeah, it's a complete system change, isn't it?
yeah, no, and you can feel it. You can actually feel it happening. It's something else, that's for sure.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so you do have, what was it you told me earlier about the bee sharing?
We have a host a hive program, and you can host a hive here. So what it is, you can pay a monthly fee, and we'll bring a colony to your property. You don't have to do anything with the colony. I'll come weekly and take care of it. And at the end of the season, in the first week of September, I'll come and take the colony, extract the honey, and give you honey, and you'll have honey always.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Anybody wants to host a hive, contact Ian. You can contact him through my Facebook or message me, and I'll just share the link with you. And I want to thank you very much for taking your time to share your hives with us and all your information. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, the bees are just wonderful. I mean,
well, who doesn't love a bee?
Right. They're such intricate creatures. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love the bees. And you're offering for students and anybody that'd like to come?
Absolutely. We want to share our knowledge on bees here for sure, and anybody that's interested, look me up. I'm on Facebook, The Bearded Beekeeper, and just look me up and send me a message. Also, if you're too far away from me and we can't travel to bring you a hive, you can host one here in our yard. Put your name on a little name plaque on the front, and we'll do it that way.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, thank you all for watching today, and I hope you learned a little bit about the bees and their amazing products, and we will catch you another day. Thank you. Bye.
See you guys.